What's the best aquarium? What's the best fish to keep in an aquarium? What is the best filter to use on an aquarium? These three questions never seem to die. As years go on, same ones over and over again. There's nothing wrong with that because you're asking a question because you don't know. And there's no such thing as a dumb question. Not on my channel. Unless it's completely ridiculous. But if you don't know, you're asking for a reason. But these three questions, they're a very loaded question. And they all work together, really. So, let's make a quick video and talk about it a little bit because they all do roll in one. So let's get right into it. Long story short, there is no best of any one thing. Now, don't get me wrong. There are better products out there than others. There are some built better. There's some that are more dependable. They are out there. But you can get a brand new top brand filter, for instance, and it quit on you. That's called a lemon. It happens. Just a quick little interjection here. I bought a Tetra Whisper 3060 from Walmart 10 years ago. I can put it on my tank, fill it with water, and plug it in, and it's going to filter the water for me. It's been a great filter, and they're not that expensive. Now, they can be on the noisier end, and sometimes you have to ping that motor to get it kick-started, to get that propeller moving. Other than that, it still filters water. It's been filtering gallons of water for me for years. So, just another little example when talking about what's the best filter. In my line of work, we order new parts, and sometimes it's a fail on install. It happens. It happens in anything. Mistakes happen. We're only human, and that's never going to change. But yes, there are some products out there better than the others. I keep anywhere from top fin aquariums to Tetra aquariums to Aqueon aquariums. They're all doing great. They're all holding water. Let's hope they hold water forever and I never have leaks. Knock on wood. I have been through many, many different types of canisters, makes and models, and they all worked well for me for years. Anywhere from Aqueon to Tetra to Fluval. Fluval is my personal favorite at the moment, and there's a couple reasons for that. And I have kept Fluval hanging the backs as well as their canister filters, and I've kept Tetra hanging the backs, and I have kept Aqueon, and I have kept Top Fin hanging the backs. They all worked good for me. They all filtered water. Okay. Now that we got past that point, let's talk about something else. Another quick little interjection. One thing to keep in mind. Some filters are easier to work on than others. Ease of use. Another thing to think about. For example, the Fluval hanging the back filters. Very simple to take the motor off with a twist and a pull. Others you got to disassemble to get to it. All things to keep in mind in line with what I said earlier. There's a lot of different variables when it comes to these questions. Oh, hey, bird. Hey there, little buddy. Ooh, he's like, stop it. I'm getting my head scratched. So what does it really come down to? The adage, you get what you pay for, is true in anything. But to answer these three questions in as simple as form as possible, it all comes down to what you want, what kind of fish keeper you are. Now, when I say what kind of fish keeper you are you on the lazy end or are you a hard worker? Make no mistake, in this hobby, especially if you get multiple tanks, you're going to have some elbow grease involved. You're going to have to work weekly, bi-weekly, till you get a fine-tuned process and you've got very well mature, established tanks that almost take care of themselves. But even then, you still have to put an amount of work into your aquariums and your hobby. If you want to be on the lazy end, but you still want to keep fish, you might want to think about not overstocking and having a pretty good filtration system with lots of surface for the beneficial bacteria to grow, and understand that everything involved with that situation. So, another thing to keep in mind: what kind of fish do you want to keep, and what space do you have? There's a lot of different variables involved in these questions, and all three of them work together, because with an aquarium you need water, you need an aquarium, you need a filtration system, obviously you need fish, and unless you're doing a completely natural, truly self-sustainable ecosystem where you don't need a filter and it's packed with plants, then you don't need a filter. But me, I don't do that. I keep bigger tanks, I keep larger fish, and I need to have filtration. I need to have water movement. So, for example, let's have a look at this. Look at the size of this fancy goldfish. Look at the size of this pleco. These Oscar fish are over a foot. These tiger barbs here, this is probably my most heavily planted tank. And this tank gets dirty. And I only feed once a day. Which is another thing that rolls into these questions. How many times are you going to feed your fish? Do you understand how much you should feed your fish? 75-gallon Mbuna tank. The only reason why I don't have more plants in here is because I keep cichlid lake salt in here, and the salt does not treat plants well. These Java ferns are about the only thing that half survive and that they won't nibble on and eat. Because Mbunas are herbivores, they like the veggies. But they also can be very aggressive, which is why I had to set up the holy rock and different rocks to create enough hiding spots so they can have a territory to call their own to help reduce aggression. Another thing you need to keep in mind when you ask this question of what's the best fish to keep, what's the best aquarium to keep, what's the best filtration? Well, as an example, 75-gallon Mbuna tank, and they keep popping out babies, so I'm getting more and more in here, and it gets crowded. So being crowded with these fish isn't a bad thing because it helps reduce aggression, but what it does create is less and less places for them to call their own. So now I'm going to have more aggression. I've added rocks. We're starting to run out of room with that. And obviously, the more fish you have in your tank, the more waste is going to be produced, so you're going to need good filtration. I have a Fluval FX4 running this tank. Over here, these goldfish. Right now, they're in this 125-gallon tank. They got plenty of room for how many are in here, so I don't really have an issue. Plus, goldfish do not let anything go uneaten, so I don't have a lot of waste. And I don't have a lot of uneaten food sitting around creating ammonia. It just comes out the other end as ammonia from the fish. But I have an FX6 running this tank. Same over here, FX6. Got some big fish in here. Plecos are one of the biggest poopers you can keep in an aquarium. It's constant. As you can see, poop is littered everywhere all the time. Sometimes it's worse than this. Got to be able to clean that out. You got to be willing to suck that out during the week. The point of taking you around to a few of my different aquariums was to give you examples. Every situation is different. You can have two identical tanks set up in your space with the same exact fish and the same exact filtration, but the water chemistry and the water parameters are going to be different. Like a fingerprint, every tank, every aquarium, every environment is going to be different. Nothing's going to be exactly the same no matter what you do. Which all feeds into these questions. Stormy again. Anyways, guys, I think you get the point. It all depends on you. So let's stop asking what the best filter is, what the best aquarium is, what the best fish is, first we need to look at ourselves and figure out what kind of fish we want to keep, what kind of a space do we have, what size tank do I want, and all that starts with what kind of fish you want to keep. You need to figure that out first. Once you know what kind of fish you want to keep, you can research that fish, look up videos on YouTube, channels like mine, and there's a whole lot of other ones out there that do a lot of species profiles. Primetime Aquatics is the first thing that comes to my mind. He has a fantastic channel and does a lot of fantastic profile species. He's been doing it for a long time. So any fish that you think you want, you can type that in and you're going to find a species profile coming from him. And he's very good at explaining everything about each individual fish. Their tank size, their requirements, what to feed them. Do they like planted tanks? Do they not like planted tanks? These are the things you got to find out for your own. That's where you need to start. So figure out what kind of fish you want to keep first, and then from there everything else will fall in line. Then you'll know what size tank you want. Then you'll know what kind of food you need to get. Then you're going to know what kind of filtration is best for that fish, because some fish are dirtier than others, like in my examples I showed earlier when I went around to my different tanks. So that's it. Just a quick video on these 3 subjects I keep seeing being asked, and I hope you guys, whoever watches it, finds it helpful. If it does, leave a comment below. If you'd like to hear anything more or have any questions about this subject, feel free to ask me. I love answering questions, and I can definitely share with you all my experience that I have with various different fish and how that works. So thanks again. Thanks for stopping by. You guys be safe. Have a good rest of your week.